Welcome back to another episode of Gumball Love. I'm your host, Melissa Ledger. Today, I want to talk to you about getting over him. So many of us are stuck on a guy. He's either in the past, way in the past, or he's recent, like maybe you're even still with him and you're trying to get the courage to break up with him, or you just broke up with him and you're like, oh, how am I ever going to get over this guy? Or if he's way in the past, you're single, but everybody you date doesn't measure up. Like you're just stuck. I hear this a lot in the Back to You Academy when girls come in and share their story or their experience. People are usually going through a breakup or trying to get over someone, or they're single and it feels like it's never going to happen. There's like that hopeless feeling. So one of us, we all fall into usually one of those buckets when we first start really attacking this whole process. It's so hard. And it's one of the reasons I created the Academy, because I was like, how can I make this a experience where you can really get over somebody? Like, how do you really do it? Instead of someone giving you like 10 breakup tips and you're like, that's great, I still feel like crap. Like, it's so hard to do by yourself. So how do you get over him? The one way I teach you how to do this is to change your perspective about him. So I'm going to give you some tips. Number one, what I teach in the Academy, and I'll go into it briefly here, is when he's a gumball guy, and we can identify that. And you might come in, let's say if you do this Academy next week, it starts April 8th. And you can sign up all the way until April 8th at 6 p.m. We're going to start. So hopefully you can sign up a little faster than that so we can get you logged in and get all your stuff to you. But when you come in, you're like, okay, what do I do? I go deep in teaching you Gumball Love because there's so much more behind this. You know, Instagram, Facebook. I can give you tips. I can give you quick things, but there's only so much you can really get into in a post. But one of the things that I teach is intensity versus intimacy. It's the glue that holds this whole concept together. It's understanding that although we are attracted, although we have chemistry, like, does that strong chemistry mean something? I posted about my ex that was everything. You know, he was good looking and had a sense of humor. We had so much fun together. We got along great. We had very similar political views. We could talk about religion. We could talk about aliens. We could talk about anything. Anything was not off the table. I felt so comfortable. Yet there was this one area that we didn't connect. And it was the hardest thing for me to realize, but he wasn't actually my friend. Yes, he would be there for me. Yes, he would talk to me. Yes, we would have fun times together. But I felt like I could never relax with him. When I did relax, when I would say, Melissa, you're crazy. He's great. Just calm down. Just relax. When I would, he would pull away. He would be like, hey, I'm just going to stay home tonight. Like, abruptly. I'm not going to come over. Okay. And it would be like the tone would change. And I'd say, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. But he wasn't fine, you know, because later there would be an issue or he would be upset and I would try so hard to be like, what's going on? Like, we had plans, or, you know, it was like those shifts. It would be that shift in mood that I had learned over time meant something bad. So even though he was saying, yeah, it's fine. And I would sit there and go, yeah, Melissa, I mean, people need their own time. You like your own time. So yeah, but I would sit in my apartment and think, but I know that's not how he really is. Like, he wouldn't say it like that. He usually does want to hang out. He made plans earlier. He's not giving a reason, you know, so there would just be these unknowns. It wouldn't be like, you know how when your friend can call you and just be like, hey, I know we had plans, but I am just so tired and I just want to like lay on the couch and do nothing. And you're like, totally understand. Yeah, cool. That, when you really are friends and you really know each other, it's so easy. But when it's inconsistent and there's that doubt, you're like, I don't understand what's going on. The inconsistencies and the lack of true friendship, which is really hard to admit because you're like, no, but we were friends. And so I would challenge you to say, yeah, you were probably friendly, but the gumball guy doesn't have long game. He doesn't have endurance. He can't do a long family event usually. Now, I want to caution, I hate saying any generalities because I know there are exceptions to everything. Because sometimes people would be like, no, Melissa, actually, my gumball guy would come to family events, but he just wouldn't do X, Y, Z. So just keep in mind the ultimate connection with all gumball guys is they are addicted to attention. And so sometimes they are all about the family event because they can do well socially sometimes. And if they can be the center of attention or your family really likes them and there's something for them to enjoy there, then they're all about it. But they typically don't just go because they know they should. Like, I'll give you an example. I have my cousin who I reference, several cousins, like I've just watched their husbands over the years say things like, yeah, we should really go and we should probably get a card. And, like they're saying the things that you should do in situations. How's your friend doing? Should we go over there? I've just seen them be proactive about their wives' friends, their wives' family members, because they're thinking about relationships that are important to her. Because as they develop in their relationship over the years, they start to care about the people their spouses care about. And so there is an investment where with a gumball guy, it's always like a gamble, or they're looking for a payoff. And if they can't get one, it feels like it's effort to get them to do something. And sometimes it's fine, but you kind of don't know when it's going to be fine and when it's going to be a problem. You're always kind of anticipating resistance. And that's when you know you don't have a true friend. You're managing something and you've gotten good at it. I got really good at it. My therapist actually told me you have developed a skill set to deal with gumball guys. And so if you are employing that skill set, it's the wrong guy. Like if I have to all of a sudden become tough girl when I feel myself getting irritated and I feel myself battling a guy, I know it's the wrong guy. Because when I'm around really solid dudes, I'm never arguing with them about anything because they're comfortable in their own skin and I'm comfortable in my own skin. But if I get around a gumball guy, he'll start to try to push my buttons. And those are trigger points, right? Because I grew up around it. I dated guys that were always gumball guys. And so when I see that behavior, I have worked on it a lot through the years, but there are still times where it's like, ooh, I know exactly how to shut them down, which is a skill I will never teach you because it never feels good in the end. Well, maybe sometimes it feels good. Sometimes it does feel really good to be like, you know what? Because I can make them feel really small when I sense that they're trying to attack me or attack another woman, especially someone trying to attack one of my friends. I'm trying to quiet my mama bear instincts, but sometimes it's just like, you know what? Some people just need to be told where to go. Some people need to be told some stuff. Anyway, but you develop this skill set and you kind of know how to handle these guys. You know how to be like, yeah, I know it's grandma's birthday and we're not going to be there very long. And I was thinking we could go do that one thing that you like to do after. And then it's like you become where you sell things to him because you want him to be there. You want him to be the guy that you hoped he was. And you don't want to see that ugly version. So you learn how to maneuver, how to contort, how to chameleon into situations. You do everything he wants to do. But when it comes to you, it's like there's hesitation and inconsistency. And so how do you work around that? This is what I teach you in getting over someone is we dive into those specifics. So if I work with you one-on-one, it's much easier than I can know your guy's specific mojo, like how does he operate? And then I'm telling you what, even in one session, we can get to a lot of points to really help you move through this. I have lost count of how many women I have coached through breakups that are happily single. I need to really start going through my screenshots, and I'm starting to post them on the website so you can see the behind the scenes screenshots. If you message me something, I always remove your identity or anything that's specific to your relationship. Like if anybody could figure it out, I always remove that part or scratch it out. But if you give me like the basic, the signs of it and how you overcame it, I always try to screenshot it, and now I'm posting it either on Instagram in the stories or now on the website, yay, where there's a whole section for this because I really want you guys to be able to see how your stories are similar and how these guys have these patterns. So what I teach you is I believe, and this is what the Back to You Academy does, is I believe that in order to get over him, this is how I had to do it. I couldn't just do the breakup remedies. Breakup remedies are great. Like I will teach you those too. I have a much more in-depth process because I know like day one, it's just like, how can I not check his Facebook? And you're going to check his Facebook. Like I'm realistic about the breakup process. Like, yeah, if you're not, it's not realistic to say, yep, okay, you broke up and just block them all on social media and walk away and buy yourself some flowers and go to a, aerobics class. It's like, okay, no one wants to do that on day one. So there's a process of going through a breakup, but there's also unique things that I did to really disassociate the good, warm, fuzzy feelings I would have. Like, okay, there was a guy that I really tried to get over. I'm going to give you a really specific example. And we had this hot chemistry, but then like, if we weren't drinking, it was really awkward because he wasn't really being himself because he wasn't ready to be close. He couldn't have that intimacy if he wasn't drinking. So I would see this version of him when he was drinking, but then sober, it was really awkward. So one of the things I did was I would go whenever I was feeling like, oh, I want to check his Facebook or I want to see what he's doing. I would go to this moment that we had in my kitchen and I would stand there and just feel the awkwardness. So this is a huge thing you can do. Pick a moment that really made you sit there and go, I don't really want to be with this guy. This is not really how it should be. It shouldn't be hard to like somebody, to love them, to be in a relationship. There shouldn't be, the main struggle should not be just in your ability to connect. That should be free flowing. Yes, couples have other issues, but they never have issues with connection. They never have issues with attraction or friendship. Those are fluid. So I want you to pick a moment and just go in there and be like, yeah, so I can go right into my kitchen. I can see him standing there. I can feel how I felt. I was trying to show him something, a video or something, and I just was like, yeah, we are super awkward. Like, this is not how we have chemistry, but we really don't have the ability to connect in our everyday life. And so we would keep coming back to each other, but interlaced into those intense moments was a lot of dead space. But it took me a little while to get focused on that dead space. And it's sort of like EMDR therapy, if you've ever heard of that, when therapists use light and eye pattern movements to disassociate you with a trauma. You can really disassociate yourself from a relationship, from those warm, So when you catch yourself like, oh yeah, I remember that time we were walking through the park and he held my hand. Yeah, that was good. But what about the time that it was like super awkward? And if you just go there, you close your eyes, you remember it, and then you open your eyes and you kind of have that look on your face like, yeah, that was not good. It was not the best time. Or you could go to a big fight and remember how ugly he was. I know people that have recorded fights on their phone just for their own, like they just hit record, set their phone down and keep fighting. And they go back and listen to the reality. Because when we're fighting, we're still passionate. We care, right? But the longer we're away, you can look back at that and you can see, I don't want to go back to that. Whatever that memory is, go back to it and immerse yourself in it. It will really help you to get a different perspective. The other things I do for you in the academy is we go deep on what does create intimacy and chemistry, understanding the differences and how those show up in a real and healthy, good relationship so that you can get over this guy that you feel obsessed with, but also feel empowered to be like, oh, this is what I should have been looking for. This is the way it's going to feel if it's right. And this is also why on this podcast, I have happily married couples that I interview as much as I can. If you have any couples, always let me know that I would love to interview them. I want to have this whole podcast just full of couples because there's a feel from them. There's a vibe from them that you get and you're like, oh, that's what it sounds like when I'm sitting across from a future husband versus another gumball guy. I teach you those feelings, and it's more than red flags. It's a process of you evolving because our self-esteem gets so damaged by the gumball guy that we tend to doubt a lot of our own instincts. So we talk a lot about that in the academy too, is how to learn to trust your own instincts. And I pulled a piece of my research out that I could not believe I forgot about, of why we don't trust our gut instinct or why the process of dating the gumball guy over and over again is eventually makes it almost impossible for us to even hear our gut instinct. And it's much too advanced to go into here. So if you feel like you're ready to hear that, I really recommend you do the academy. So I've been terrible about selling this because it's just weird to me. I've been in sales my whole life, but selling this for some reason just feels off to me. But it's really about taking the time to say, okay, I'm going to carve out a month and I'm going to go through this. I'm going to see, when you join, you get access to all the audios. So I teach you just like you're hearing on the podcast, but we go into depth on a lot of things, and I'm adding to this academy all the time. So you will get lifetime access. I don't even remember how many audios I have in there. It's probably over 25, I believe. So much that you probably won't even get to it all in a month unless you're super hungry for all the information. But I let you go through it at your own pace. And then you have it's one thing to be processing all of this, but I will tell you, even as a female entrepreneur, this is my side hustle, my passion. I have a full-time job and I work with other entrepreneur women. And I will tell you, when I connected with other women as entrepreneurs and I started being able to discuss things that I'm going through, social media, software, where do you launch an academy? How do you do it? How do you create a website? How do you rebrand yourself? All those things I was doing a lot by myself. And when I connected to a community, it changed everything. And then I hired a coach and then a different coach as I started to grow. And so many things changed in my business that brought me to even launching this course and launching a podcast and interviewing people on podcasts and just all those things that I'm able to do now because I realized I needed help. And so the same goes for going through a breakup. Like if I could have told myself 10 years ago, hey, there's a group of women that are going through this exact thing. You can join it. There's this curriculum that gives you a guided process so you don't have to just sit there in pain. This is painful. It's almost like you're injured, yet there's no hospital. I mean, can you imagine like you cut yourself wide open and then you had to just sit there and like kind of figure out what you're supposed to do to bandage yourself up. I mean, it's like no one would do that, right? We go to doctors. We go to people that know how to heal us, and we get the help we need if it's a physical hurt. But an emotional one, we somehow default to this weird idea that we should be by ourselves in this process. And so when I bring girls in and we turn on the Zoom chat for the first time and everybody sees each other, it's like, I've talked about this so many times where one of my girls just like burst into tears. And she's even my coaching client after the academy. She had to go through a pretty extensive breakup and she's doing awesome now. We just got her over a huge hurdle. But I literally like, I turn on, I'm like, hey, welcome to the Back to You Academy. And she starts crying. I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, what's the matter? And she's like, I just can't believe these other girls are in here. Like, it makes me want to cry right now. Like, she's like, I'm like, what, why? What's the matter? And she's just like, I'm not alone. I'm like, that's right. You're not alone. Finally, I was like, oh, thank God. I was just like, what could be wrong? We're just like saying hi, but just the sight of all those faces, she was like, oh, thank God. And I just, it's giving me chills right now. Just to know that people are hurting like that and they don't have anybody. Because my friends all got married so young and I felt like so lost, and I felt like I was so different and there was something wrong with me. And if I could have connected with other women like this and been able to say, here's what I'm going through. And you guys, you are so amazing, because I know when I do these academies, I'm getting high quality women. Like every time it happens, all of you guys lift each other up. It's like now I used to be nervous about it. And now I just know that this community attracts loving, supportive, uplifting, encouraging women that are still hurting, but you're that girl that will help somebody when you're hurting. And that's why I love you. And that's why you're here, because that's who we are. And so that's what happens in the academy. We come together and we help each other. We hear each other's stories. Because I used to teach this all live. I don't even know how I did it. I was trying to teach content plus do Q&A, and it was just too much for, 2 hours or an hour and a half on a Monday night. So I decided to create an online e-course, which was a major financial investment for me, and also just time and graphics and recordings and editing and, all the stuff that goes into putting it together. But now it's like encapsulated. And then you don't have to go look at some replay of a live class. You can go in and it's professionally done. You can hear audio's specific to different topics. As you evolve, because I made the academy where you go from what is Gumball Love to I'm in a horrible breakup, divorce, all the way to I'm now happily single, or how do I become happy? The process of becoming happily single, the process of developing who you really are, connecting to your real identity, going through all of those things. The whole process is in the Back to You Academy. So 30 days, obviously, no one can really do it in 30 days, but you have 4 classes, you connect to the group of women, you're in a private Facebook group. And then I use Zoom, you guys, to open up like evening chats, like another time in the week for you guys to just hang out. Like, I feel like if we were all in the same town, we could be like, hey, let's just have coffee or have a glass of wine, or let's order some pizza and just hang out and talk about how, what's everybody doing. So we do that virtually. So it's not like so You guys, everything I do is going to be as casual and as personal as possible. I hate that feeling of you do something and it's cold and like structured and I don't know. It's just, I don't like that. I want it to feel like family, like warm, like I'm going through something. I want to know that I can talk to people, and I want to feel that sense of connection, but also that I want you to feel like even if you are dating a married guy and you want to get out of it, but you feel like you don't know where to go, you don't know what to do because you're in love or you're obsessing and you're just like, I feel ashamed. This is where you can come, because I know that process. I know how to get you out of it. So the last thing you need is to be judged through that process, because you're already asking for help. So we don't, no one needs to beat you down. And I believe in creating a place for women to connect, to empower each other, and to become the best versions of ourselves, to become what we always have seen ourselves in our minds to be. And I can tell you, I'm the farthest in my life. I never imagined that I would be doing this at this level. I just look around, and every day I wake up in a New York City apartment, and that is unbelievable to me. And to have a podcast and to have a beautifully branded website and social media, and to have a community of women, and to be teaching these academies, and to be doing live events and speaking. I mean, it's beyond my wildest dreams. And I am so happy how much this has helped and how many women this has helped. And I can't tell you, if you've sent me one of your success stories or just a thank you, how much that means to me, because I spent a lot of time never hearing one thing in the beginning of this, wondering, is this going to work? Is this going to really do anything? I remember asking my sister, like, do you think this is stupid? Is this a dumb idea? And I remember she just sat there and stared at me. This was years ago. And whatever she said, I was going to believe it fully, because I was just at a point where I just felt like, could I do something like this? When you come up with something, or you have an idea for a business or something that you've always thought about, and it comes to the point where you decide to pursue it, there is this disconnect with, like, me, really? And she just stared at me like my sister can stare. Like, she just looks at me, and I really didn't know what she was going to say, though. And she just said, no, it's not stupid. And she's like, it's worth millions, is what she said. I was like, millions? She was like, millions. And so from that point forward, I just was like, okay, I'm doing this, because I knew she would tell me the truth. I knew she would tell me, yeah, this is kind of maybe a waste of time, or maybe she would have told me, like, hey, I think you need to check this with somebody else. But what I did do is I did check it with somebody else, and that was my own therapist. I checked every piece of this content with my therapist, who knew my story and knew how I would have come up with the content to support the Gumball Guy creation. And I remember telling him and looking at him after I explained the formula, and I got the kind of turned the corner of the mouth down and shaking his head and looking at him. He's like, huh, interesting. And then he said, I have a client that's dating a Gumball Guy. And he would always say it like kind of different. I don't know. The way he said Gumball Guy would always just seem kind of funny to me. And I just, inside, I was like, oh, he sees it in other clients. He's able to apply it immediately. And so I will always cherish those moments of getting the validation that this is something real. This is something that women have told me, Melissa, you finally put a name to what I've been going through. I've never been able to say this is that kind of guy. So understanding why we fall in love with the gumball guy, how you break up and get over him, and then how you build yourself back up after. And I believe it's all of these kind of meshed. One doesn't happen. You're not like, hey, now I'm completely over him. Now I'm going to empower myself. And now I'm going to, it doesn't work that way. The one bleeds over. You're going to be getting over him, but you're also going to be building strength. It's kind of like losing weight. You don't just lose all the weight and then build the muscle. You build the muscle and you lose the fat. You build the muscle and you lose the fat. And eventually there's no fat there, I guess, is what people tell me. I've never gotten to that point yet. But you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a process of that strength building. And that's the part that a lot of people, like when you talk to your relatives or your friends, they don't understand that part. They're like, come on, why can't you just get over him? Like, he's a jerk. Like, what is taking you so long? They don't get it. And people have actually asked me to teach people how to help people that are trying to get over a gumball guy. And sometimes my answer will surprise them. Like, what do I do? And I'll just say, let her keep dating him. Don't tell her to stop. And they're like, what? And that's sometimes what I might tell you. I told one client that. She was like, what do you think I should do? I'm like, I think you should date him longer. And she was like, Melissa? I'll never forget. She was sitting in her car. We were doing a coaching session. I was like you're going to leave him if I tell you to right now. She was like, you're right. I'm like, you need more information. You're not ready. So I can tell you that you should walk away, but that's not your reality. So what we have to do is, if we're going to stay longer, then we have to know what we're looking for when we're staying longer, and how we gain strength to leave even if we're still there. I also have mastered that plan. So here's what you need to know about me and working with me. I've been through almost every single scenario that my students bring to me, and I can help you from just about any angle. So I want you to relax and know that you should feel no shame no matter where you are. If you want to work with me and you want to join this group, it will be one of the best things you ever do for yourself. So I will ask you this, even if you don't do an academy, I just want you to ask yourself, how much longer does this guy deserve to stay in my life? How much longer am I going to give him space? Is it going to be another month? Is it going to be another year? I remember going back to my gumball guy in Nebraska, and I knew I didn't want to marry him. He wanted to marry me. We went to the jewelry store. I stood there looking at beautiful diamonds, feeling anxiety. I just wanted to leave. I was like, I can't do this. Yet, deciding to go back to him one more time cost me a year of my life. 1 year. I could have been in New York a year sooner. I could have done so many things with that year. Yet I stayed in this painful relationship because I didn't understand how to get out. I didn't know what I know today. And that's the whole gift that this is why I show up every day, because I know that Gumball Love, once you understand the concept, once you understand how to apply all of these things, and if I have the opportunity to teach it to you one-on-one in an academy, it will stay with you the rest of your life. You'll never be with another gumball guy again. If you end up on a date with one, you're going to be like, some girls call me and they're like, Melissa, I went on a date with a gumball guy. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm on a date with a gumball guy. And they freak out. And I'm like, well, did you make a second date? And they're like, well, no, I could see it. I'm like, bingo, 1 date, not 3 months. You made it 1 date and you were done. So think about that progress. This is what will happen. Yeah, you might go on 1 date. I mean, you can't tell everything through text messages, but I can tell you a lot of stuff to look for even in that. Let me tell you, this is a freaking science. Like, I feel like this is the one area I feel like I always say a Jedi Knight, even though I'm a Star Trek person, not a Star Wars person. But I just feel like some kind of a ninja. This is where I have ninja skills. I am like better than, what's his face, Chuck Norris. I can outdo Chuck Norris when it comes to relationship advice, okay? Like, I know how the intricacies of the gumball guy and every little move, what all these text messages mean. I have poured over this. way before I was doing an academy. Like I've thought through and analyzed this stuff ad nauseum. So now I can turn this around and make this so much simpler and easier, because my other gift is taking complicated things and making them simple, and I teach them really well. So that's what I know I can do and what I'm supposed to be doing on this earth, so I can help as many women as possible save time. Like this is the gift I really feel like Gumball Love gives women, is it gives you your life back, because you're not, I used to walk around afraid that I was going to meet another gumball guy. I used to feel like, what if this happens to me? You know, that feeling like, oh, I don't want to fall in love again, and then realize, oh, I got to go through that agony. Once I figured out Gumball Love, I have not gone through a relationship. I've had crushes. I've had guys that I'm like, I really want to like him. I really want to date him, but I know I can't. And so I've had, that chemistry, but I have known that I had to fight it, or before I would have surrendered to it. So that's huge. That was huge for me. And I'll tell you, sometimes they were struggles. Sometimes it was like, this is really hard, but I could see it. And I had to deal with my own dang content in my face going, yep, Melissa, this is a gumball guy, and you have a crush, you have the feelings, you have the chemistry, but there is no friendship. There is no real solid connection happening here. Sometimes it's just like a coworker or a relationship that's kind of on the periphery, and you don't see it coming, and you're going to start to be able to filter these out, which is why I always say filter like a freak. You have to filter these men out of your life, because the one that's supposed to be there permanently, your future husband, you will not have to think about any of these things. When someone asks me, Melissa, what should I be thinking about on this date? And I always say, if you have me in your head on the date, you're on the wrong date, because no Gumball Love advice should apply with the right guy. When it's the right guy, you will not be listening to this podcast. You will be like, oh, I get it. I can't tell you how many messages I've gotten. Melissa, it's everything you said. It's so easy. It just flows. I never have to guess. He just comes to stuff. He's supportive. He just will he'll come and hang out with my friends, and we just don't argue about stuff, and there's no tension. There's no drama. There's no intensity. It's just great. We get along. We like each other. I'm attracted to him. They're like, oh my God, this really exists. It really exists. But we have to stop being attracted and stop getting fooled by the ones that are temporary, the exciting chemistry that only leads to heartbreak. Those are the things that I help you really turn on the light, help you really see those things, so you stop falling for that guy, and ultimately you start living your life normally. I found that before Gumball Love, I wasn't really living my life in a normal way. I was living my life in anticipation of the next relationship, hoping I would be good enough on a dating site, trying to figure out what my profile needed to look like to attract a guy, and then overanalyzing a guy that would reject me, and not really understanding that I needed to come with my own identity and how to develop that, how to really feel good about who I am, and also know that you have to be so clear on what you want. And I'm not talking blue eyes and whatever hair color. I'm talking about like the things that are the most important. The married couples that are on the podcast, they'll say there are things that are so important. Like, it could be you have to have the same religious beliefs, or your core values that need to match up. You need to have certain things. Or one of the guys said, you can't have a guy that's making significantly less money than you. You need to have somebody that's your equal, that's on par, that understands you, that's, in the same frequency that you are. So there are exceptions to everything. And if you find somebody that is an exception, that's great. But I'm just saying, we can't make so many exceptions that we're open to everybody, because when you're open to everybody, you end up really not getting what you need and what you deserve. So we have to get more specific. And I will tell you, this has been a process for me as well to get more and more clear, because the more solid we are and the more clear we know what we want, so many men will say, man, a girl that knows what she wants is so attractive, because you might have a lot of very specific needs. Like, let's say you're very political. You have very specific religious beliefs. You have very strong opinions. But you know what? There's a guy that's really on the same page. And when you're passionate about those things, there's a guy out there that's like, that's exactly what I'm looking for. But if you were to show up lukewarm with that guy, he would be like, he wouldn't, if you were showing up lukewarm, pretending not to be passionate about those things, afraid to be to this or to that, your ideal person could just walk right by you because you weren't really being yourself. So it's whatever you are, we have to get clear and comfortable and confident enough to present that. And I think that back to you is also a process of really figuring that out, because it's like, I hate the two things that I hate. I ended up teaching, like, love yourself and finding yourself. I'm like, really? I ended up teaching those things that I would hate when people say. I didn't understand it. I was like, what does that mean to love yourself? Oh, I'm finding myself. Okay, but they're like the two most important things ever. If you don't love who you are and you don't know who you are going to really struggle in a lot of relationships. So if you can let go, like I had to let go of all that on this podcast. I have to be me on this podcast. I have to be me in the academy. I can't show up and welcome everybody to the Gumball Love Academy. Welcome to back to you. Like I don't even know who that would be, but I can't do it. And I tried to be like some, version of that, or not really like that, but like I tried to show up not really know when I didn't know myself in the beginning. I did my best, right? But as I grew in business and in this entrepreneur track, man, it's like in social media, if you don't show up authentic, people just unfollow. They don't relate to you. I mean, we all know how that is. And so I have to show up as me so that you and I can work together effectively. And I don't sit in a coaching session scared of what I'm going to say. I know exactly what I'm going to say. I'm confident in my content. But you guys, it took me a long time to get to the point where I felt confident about this content. I really worked through and tried it and tested it and made sure that this is like, I can guarantee it. It works. So I just want you to know that I guess the ultimate thing is I just want you to save time, and I don't want you to labor over this. I feel like my mission is to take a lot of that labor that a lot of people go through that need this process, because I really feel like my purpose is to help you do yours. So if I can take some of that work away from you, if I can bring clarity, if I can accelerate that process for you, then you're going to go make the product you were designed to make, develop the website, write the blog, write the book, take that trip, move to that city, whatever it is. Like, I know that this process changes. Like, I've had people move out of their homes, get divorces, end up in different relationships. We have two people that have gotten married. I think I have 4 or 5 that are engaged. Like, I'm literally losing track of how many are engaged now. But it was people that, they started with me maybe a couple of years ago. They did the work and they filtered out the wrong guys. Some of them I've interviewed on the podcast. A lot of them went through the academy. Some of them worked with me before I even had the academy, and just listen to the content over and over and over again as I deliver it in social media. I'm telling you, it works. So I hope so much that we can work together. It starts April 8th. If you join the academy, go to gumballove.com, click on academy. There's a link in my Instagram bio that goes directly to the academy. And I do have a payment option. So if you want to break it up into 2 payments, you can. It'll just be half of the payment will be at the time of purchase, and the second half will be in 30 days from that time period. So at the beginning and at the end. So you can break it up over a pay period. So I hope this has helped you. I wanted to give content as well as tell you about the Academy so you can kind of get a picture of what that journey will look like. And if you have questions, I am available. So if you want to even chat with me directly about what this Academy means and what you're going to get out of it, I'm happy to go through it. So if you're still hanging in, you're like, I don't know, Melissa, it's like a lot of money, and do I really, like, what do I get exactly? So you're going to get a login, and you'll get access to all of the audios. There are 6 stages that are in this process. And within each of those stages, there are audios and videos to support that. So I go in depth in everything that I just talked to you about, and so much more, like going through the breakup, when you're fighting with a gumball guy, how to get out there and date again, to red flags, to dating, to just so many things. We get into a lot of it. Then every week we'll meet live as a group, and we'll spend an hour and a half going through questions. And then I have things that we do each week that support what you've been hearing in the content. The first 2 weeks are intense. They were like, whoa, Melissa, this is a lot. And I asked, is it too much? And they all said no, because I said, for the next Academy, should I like change this? And they said, no, it's just very impactful. So if you do this, I'm just going to tell you the first 2 weeks, it's like, you're going to be like, whoa, you're going to have some really big light bulb moments. And so they were like, no, it's good. I got my money's worth for sure. But it's like, whoa, so be ready. And so you get the live interaction as a group. You get a one-on-one session with me. You get all the content inside the login. So you'll get a login and password. You'll have access to all of it. And then if you can't make one of the live sessions, we make the replay of that live session available inside the Academy. So if you have something on a Monday night, or say Monday nights never work for you, but you want to see what the group talked about, then great. And then through the week, I usually offer one more time for us to connect as a group, just to kind of chill and hang out. It's casual. We'll have a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, and we just talk about whatever's going on. And sometimes it's just maybe 2 or 3 of us. And it's really intimate discussions, which I love, that keep us close, that make this a bonding experience. And the girls are still talking to each other after the Academy, because you really get to know each other and share a special bond, because this is such personal stuff. Yet for some reason, it just works. I don't know. It's like you would think like strangers coming together to talk about these kinds of details, but it's such a, like, I don't know. I just believe it's all divinely connected, and I believe God brings the right people together at the right time. And sometimes when I launch these academies, I feel like I don't have time for this. I haven't promoted it enough, blah, blah, blah. But the people that need it show up. And the groups that are supposed to be together are together. And so we also have a private Facebook group, so you can connect, you can share links. I'll show you articles. I talk a lot about the Gottman Institute and just different YouTube videos that will be helpful to you. You will have so much stuff. And then if you want to continue, I offer a membership. And so for $49 a month, you can continue and go to the next Academy the next month. And you can just start with a new group and still sit in, because sometimes, like, if you ever listened to the same audio or read the same book and you were like in a way different place when you read the book the second time, that's what happens with the Academy. Sometimes you go through it and in the moment you were in a breakup, but then the next month you're not going through those hard emotions. So you're ready for the next stage, but then you're like, crap, the Academy's over. Now what? You can still join and you can stay with the group and get all of the benefits, because I wanted to create that ongoing membership. So many people have been asking for this, so now it is available. So you will be in future academies, and even in this upcoming one, you'll have some alumni that have been there and they've gone through it, and they can just be kind of like little guardian angels, as well as they need you to continue their journey. This is all a process. No one has arrived. I have not arrived. There's nobody that's necessarily better or farther ahead. They just may have they're through more stages. They might be, they've experienced a little bit more healing. And there's just so many loving conversations that I've heard happen. And people are like, thank you so much. This has been so great. I'm so glad I did this. And every single time I am so glad that I put myself out there and launched another academy, because I see the difference and the impact it makes in other people's lives. So thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I know if you're still with me that you're probably really thinking about it. And at this point, it's like most people would say, you really should do it. But I really do want you to think about if you're ready. And if you ask me a question, I'm not going to pressure you or I'm not going to chase you, because it's important that it is the right time for you. And I want you to feel that feeling of yes, this is time. I have spent enough on this guy. I don't want to do this anymore. I need to just get through this. And it's April, it's spring. It's that fresh new feeling. And maybe this is your time to go into the summer months and lift that pressure off yourself. So if you feel like it's time, then by all means do it. But if you'll know in your gut if it's the right time. And I really believe it, because this is not easy work. And I do want you to be mentally prepared, but you don't have to be, you can still be messy, but you just want to get out of the mess, you don't have to, I don't want you to think you have to be in some certain status other than just, Melissa, I'm ready for you to help me. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm scared, and I don't think I'm ever going to get over him. I don't think you're going to be able to tell me anything that's going to change my mind, but I'm willing to give it a shot. That's perfect. I'll take you, come as you are. This is casual. This is, I want you to feel like we're in a cozy living room together and we're just sitting over coffee and we're going to hash this out, because you will get through this. This is not going to be how your life is going to end up. This is not the end. This is just a hard time, and I'm here for you. So I hope to see you in the next academy. And until then, I'll see you on Instagram. Watch me on stories, and in posts, I'll be talking a lot more about this process. So stay tuned, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.